Alright class, good afternoon. As you can see, I have Miss with me today. She's going to be supervising me teaching the lesson. Right? And I'm also with right? Yes. So I'm going to be the behavior and I need to respond wrong. You follow? Good. So for today, we will be covering pollination. Right? Now, anybody know what is pollination or got an idea what is pollination? Anybody remember? That's an idea of anything. No idea what is pollination? How about we go back to the part of the flower? This is what kind of flower? Hello? Banana flower? It's a hibiscus flower. Right? It might look a little different, but the reason is that because we're focusing on this part. You understand? Now when you touch the hibiscus flower, right? See these yellow spots on it? What are those called? Pollen grains, correct. Right? These pollen grains are the what? Seeds? No, not seeds. Remember when we were doing parts of the flower? Pollen grains are produced by the ant and they are the what? The male reproductive cell. Right? Good. So today our topic is pollination. And what is pollination? Briefly, what is pollination?
Pollination is the process by which pollen transfer from
Alright? So, pollination is the process by which pollen grains transfer from the anther of flower to the stigma. Right? Now going back to our flower here, where we see the pollen grains, those are the anther. Right? Then at the top is the stigma. Everybody see it? We pass on these flowers so you have to nothing. Take one. As a group. Pass them around. Everybody can see. That's over there. So, looking at the star here, right? We have the yellow fuzzy that you see, those are the pollen grains. And at the top, you can see the stigma very clearly. Right? Now, pollination now is the movement of this pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. Everybody follow? And if you look at the stigma right now, we got some pollen grains right here. So that means pollination has what? Pollination has occurred. Correct. Look at the diagram that I have here. We have a flower. Right? The flower shape is similar to this one because they base off of the same one. And this is the anther. And then these are the pollen grains produced by the anther. And pollination is the movement of these pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, which is this one. What is it? Good. Now, there are two types of pollination. Or how does pollination work? Pollination is the movement from the anther to the stigma. So step one, strong petals are bright colors and fragrant scent and attraction. You also see insects and sliding so buzzing around flowers, right? And step two, the insect arrives at the flower to collect the nectar. If you look inside here, in your flower, you can see some gaps between the petals, right? With the hibiscus flower, you have to get to the nectar. The nectar is at the bottom here. So what has happened? The insect has to come and land on the flower here, right, to get to the nectar. And in front of the landing, you brush across these anthers and get the pollen grain on them. Next step, the insect has the nectar, rubs against the anther, which rub pollen onto the insect. Step 4, after the insect is done feeding on the flower's nectar, it gets hungry and gets attracted to another flower of bright colors. Right? So, we got two flowers here, two different colors. Right? So the insect is going to this one, bring nectar from here, brush again the pollen from this one, and then they can move from this flower to this flower, right? So, and as the insect feeds on the new flower, pollen grains stuck to the insect, and from this first flower rubs off onto the female part. So basically, from the anthers rubs off on the stigma at the top here, and that's how we get pollination. Right? And good. Part of the pollen travels down the style to the ovary. Now when we get part of the flower, we said the ovary was in here. Right? So the stigma at the top, this is what? This is the style, and the ovary at the bottom. So when the pollen grain gets to the stigma, moves down the style into the ovary. Everybody follow? Any question? How long do you think it takes for the pollen grain to travel on the stigma? A couple of hours. Next, types of pollination. We got 2 types of pollination. What are the 2 types? Alright, when you get from cross pollination, what do you think it means? Good. It occurs when the pollen grain from one flower travels to the stigma of another flower. That's what we just described. Right? Where the pollen grain from this flower moves to the stigma of this flower. Right? Simple. Self-pollination now. Self-pollination occurs when pollen grains from a flower travel to the stigma of the same flower or a different flower on the same tree. Right? Think about it like this, right? You got 2 hands, right? They're different, but they are your hands, right? So do you think that two different flowers on a tree would be different? They would be different, yes or no? No, because they come from the same tree. So that is a form of self-pollination. These 2 could be on the same tree, right? And the pollen grain from here goes to this one. And that's still considered self-pollination. Cross-pollination only occurs when you have the pollen grain moving from a flower of one tree to the flower of a different tree. Right? Question. Can a hibiscus flower cross-pollinate a mango tree flower? No. Why? Because they are different species. So we can have 2 different hibiscus flowers pollinating each other, right? Now, advantages and disadvantages of self-pollination. Advantage of one, wastage of pollen grain is less compared to cross-pollination, right? When you think about it, the amount of pollen grains you have to take to get from this anther to the stigma right here is not much. But if you had to use pollen grains for transfer across, you can use more pollen grains and some of them will be wasted. In the process of self-pollination, purity of really maintained. Basically,
You're going to bring this down to the stamp and sign. It's so much a thing.
this flower don't change, right? When you self-pollinate, it don't change. You can keep the same color, you can keep the same shape, you can keep the same everything, right? That's why self-pollination is. No involvement in external factors like wind, water, or pollinating agents. The means for pollination to occur, it doesn't require anything else other than itself, right? Self-pollination ensures that even a small quantity produced pollen grains from plants have a good success rate in pollination. Same thing. It doesn't move from here to here. No excess thing required. Disadvantage. A major disadvantage of self-pollination is that there is no mixing of genes, due to which the big and vital species are reduced. How many know for some with either Down syndrome or autism? Y'all know what is Down syndrome? Right? They got the extra chromosomes so that they come out a little different, right? And they can't speak like how we just speak sometimes. sometimes the hand aren't as dexterous as ours, right? So most times, right, that Down syndrome and so on, it happens as because of mutation occurring during fertilization, right? And a lot of time, right, these diseases come about due to inbreeding, meaning that the genetic material don't exchange and they don't susceptible to diseases. I need you to go look up King George or the royal families of the 1900s. So they had some long chins, they couldn't breathe properly, they had all kind of heart defects and these kind of things, right? That's because you know in the fairy tale, the princess must marry a what? Prince. Must marry a prince, right? Or a king must marry a queen. Can't pick up on nobody from the streets. Or they get asked and then get put out, right? No? Did I get put out? Which fairy tale do you have about you? And Cinderella, yes. Yeah, so basically these royal families used to intermarry between each other. The royal family of England would marry the royal family of Germany, would marry the royal family of France and so on. And then together everybody marrying their cousin and marrying their auntie and their uncle and they yes. And because they don't have much genetic variety and diversity, they used to come out weird, used to come out sick. So a disadvantage of self-pollination because they use the genetic material from one flower to fertilize itself is that you just clone in itself. If it gets sick, every flower will get sick, every plant will get sick. Right? That's it. The immunity disease is produced in the result of spring. Now moving on to cross-pollination. Cross-pollination, as we said, is the movement of what? What is cross-pollination? No. I want to read. I want to tell me we remember what is cross-pollination. Anybody? Quickly. I just had it on the board. I just had it on the TV. Quickly, somebody. Cross-pollination is the movement of pollen grains. Where did I put my flower? Good. Movement of pollen grains from one flower to another one. And I just explained the same thing I want. Good. So cross-pollination is the movement of pollen grains from one flower to another. So now for cross-pollination to occur, it requires something to move the pollen grains from one flower to another. Do you take these two flowers together and exchange it like this?
No, sir.
They don't play with each other like this.
No.
Right? So, for this one pollen grain to cross here, it needs something to move it. Right? And these agents are wind, water, and animals. Right? So they are separated into two categories. Biotic agents, that's the animals, birds, animals, and insects, that we see most of the time. And abiotic agents, which are wind and water. Yes. So everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
Can these two flowers come together?
No,
and
sir.
exchange the pollen grains?
No, sir.
What does it need? Wind, water, or animals or insects to move pollen grains across, right?
Yes, sir.
Because plants can't move. Good, so the characteristics of flowers pollinated by wind, right? How many atoms are there grass? The atoms in the grass and the flower? We got some very, very small flowers, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? Oh yeah, is it here now? Look.
Yes, sir.
Good. So, for wind pollinated flowers, right? They have pollen grains that float in the air until they are trapped by the stigma, right? They're colorless, odorless, and do not have nectar, right? So, looking at our flower here, do you think it's wind pollinated? Is this flower wind pollinated? It is? It ain't got no color?
Yes, sir.
So this flower is not wind pollinated, right? So pollen grains are light and small with spikes or wings, right? They got get something to keep them up in the air as they float. How many of you just watch TV and in springtime, a lot of people get hay fever in TV? When they start sneezing, when they start the fevers and the eyes start running, right? I'm born in, yes, and it's get red, right? So what has happened is that in the US or in these temperate regions, right? After winter happens, the plants will start sprouting, right? And as they sprout, they mature, they start producing flowers, and these flowers release the pollen grain in massive amount. And they just floating in here. And they just floating in here. And as they're floating, they can come in contact with you and cause the sneeze, cause the having a lot of hair. Right? The stigmas are larger, hairy, feathery, and sticky to catch pollen grain. And just produce a large amount of pollen grain, usually hang outside of the petal. Right? Why would some flowers be pollinated by the wind? It spread pollen over large areas, breathing carried far. Right? It can reach many flowers at once. It succeeds in open spaces. So where would you find grasses with large areas? Open spaces. And it can support reproduction when even flowers are small and big. Some examples of these flowers are coconut, thorn, grass, and pine. You know pine?
Yes, sir.
What's pine? No. Not pineapple. Pine tree. What are pine trees? We all know that. The Christmas tree, right? Good. Now looking at our diagram here, right? These are the stigmas. You see the long and the feathery, right? And these are the anthers that are outside of the petal, right? And it's produce a lot of pollen. Now, some examples that we have in real life is this. You'll see the anthers are hanging outside of the petal, right? They're colorless, they don't come different from the stalk. And these are the stigmas in the middle here, the feathery. Same over here, see it? And you recognize this, what it looks like? Sugarcane, right? Good, so we got examples there. Water pollinated flowers. Water and wind have similar properties, right? So the pollen grains float to the surface of the water, where it can be picked up by another flower. It is colorless, odorless, and are usually at the surface, down the surface, right close at the top. So this is the water here and the flower and they're right at the top. Right? The pollen grains are light and water resistant to allow them to float on top of the water. And the stigmas are long and sticky. The reason why they be pollinated by water is that they move pollen through streams and ponds. Right? So as the water flow, they can take the pollen grains away. Right? So you think I no chance for it to self-pollinate in this pond, it will move away. You have supported reproduction of aquatic habitats, reach nearby plants that grow under the surface. Right? You know you got some plants that grow in the water, right? They don't pass the water. Yes, like seaweed. Reduce energy spent on bright petals and scent. How many are when you look in the river, you can see straight up into the water? How many times? Every time? Most time when you look at the gutter, everything is more, right?
It's blue water.
You can't see.
And blue water.
So do you think if I put this flower in muddy water, anybody could see it in the water? No, because so that's why plants that live in water, the flowers aren't colorful because they don't need to attract insects on the water. They don't need color, they don't need holes to attract insects. And some examples. I don't have a pen and anything. Alright. Moving on to examples. Valesarena, hydrangea, pondweed, and seagrass. Now, if you are talking about is this. So this is Valesarena plant, right? They brought the bottom. This is the flower, right? These are the male flowers. What has happened is that the male flowers will release pollen grains. The pollen grains will sink and they're going to interact with the flowers here on the water. And that's what they pollinate, right? And most times, because the water is moving, the pollen grains won't fall directly on this plant something, they can move across another one. Some examples of underwater plants. This is the seagrass, and this is the hydrangea. When you go to the creek, right, in the car now, it's got some very soft grass, right? This is the hydrangea grass. Now, prospects of flowers pollinated by animals. Bright petals. Does this have bright petals? This don't have bright petals? They got strong scents. They got sticky pollen. Well, this one, the pollen won't touch my body. Nectar. They got sturdy structure so that the animals can land on them and still survive. They got large group of petals arranged to guide the animals toward the nectar. So these petals are arranged. They are arranged in a way so that to guide the animals to the nectar. And as they go in, they got to pass by the pollen, by the anther and stigma, right? So that's how they transfer happens, right? Anther and stigma sit inside the flower for about close contact. Well, our own way, they're outside, but we can't get there here. Right? The reason why we want to pollinate by animals is that reliable pollen transfer from insects. Right? We got high success because insects move from flower to flower with a purpose. Why would bees be moving from one flower to another? Why would bees be moving from one flower to another? Because they're collecting nectar. What do bees use nectar for? To make honey. Good. They rich flowers that grow inside spaces where wind and water is. A lot of the other plants have flowers, either you got them on a windowsill or they're around your house, right? You think breezes come around your house like that? But when the insects they fly all over, they want to come in your house or not. Right? Examples of flowers being pollinated by animals. You got the hibiscus that we have here. You got the baobab. Y'all know the baobab tree? Anybody have idea what the baobab tree? How many of you watch Madagascar too? Now watch Madagascar too?
Yes, sir.
Or one? You watch all? You know them what trees that they in Madagascar?
Yes, sir.
Those are the baobab trees, right? And they got flowers along like your hand, right? They are not pollinated by insects. They are pollinated by animals called lemurs. What's King Julian? What type of animal is King Julian? That's a raccoon, he's a lemur. I know you guys see koala and banana. What type of animals are around the banana tree then? So, what are pollinators? Pollinators are living things that move pollen grains from one flower to another. This has the plants from seed, right? So, common examples, bees carry pollen on their legs and body. You understand it, right? They got butterflies pick up pollen grains while feeding on nectar, and they got large wings. And as they on the flower, they flap, they pick up pollen grains. Birds are the hummingbirds collect pollen on their beaks. Bats spread pollen while feeding at night. Bats are like giant puppies. This is aloe. Beetles move pollen as they search for food, and flies transfer pollen when they feed on the flower. Right? So examples of pollen that we have bees, butterflies, birds, and the hummingbirds. We got bats, we got beetles, and we got flies. Right? So examples that we got bees. You can see one the bee on the pollen, they got the pollen grain on the antenna. Right? You know what? These here are called field mice. Right? They're very small. Right? And on their floor to get as they interact with the flower, on their floor they get pollen. Now this is an example of a bus getting nectar from a flower. You see the same thing with a core, they then all up in the flower, they get pollen grains on it. Hummingbird, you all see these type of flowers right? A lot of people got this. This one we have pull out and you
Sir, I got it ready to read.
yeah, you got it right there. You almost right when you pick it, right? Yes. And then you pull it out and you get the nectar. As you see, this bee here now, this flower is designed so the bee has to go inside it to get to the nectar, right? And then as it's inside, you get the pollen rain on it. And then this one is a limo in Julia. Right? So now quickly advantages and disadvantages of cross-pollination. Advantages. It uses new genetic materials and works on the gene pool. Think about it like this. If it's in an area, you got 6 plants, right? And they continue to produce kind of 6. They get 6 together and they go pass through. When they get pollen grains from healthy plants and come and mix with them together, the offspring that they produce will be healthy or more resistant to this disease. And that is where we get the gene pool exploding. Increasing offspring ability to resist diseases, yes. Higher chance to create hybrids. How many have what teen wolf? Teen wolf, vampire diaries, that kind of thing though. Yellow hybrid, right? What's that hybrid? Half vampire, half werewolf. Remember, and most of the time these hybrids, they got the best abilities of both types of things, right? The hybrids in plants, the same thing. Most times they will have the best abilities of both plants. Disadvantages, they expend more energy to produce nectar, color, and scent odor. Nectar, color, and scent, increased chance for unwanted pollen, and there is a risk of hybridization. Depends heavily on pollination. Right? Yes. So, if you don't have pollinators, you don't have pollination, what will happen? If you don't have pollination. What does pollination lead to? Pollination leads to fertilization. And without fertilization, you won't have new implants. New offspring. Good. So, importance of pollination. Pollination helps plants make seeds. Why do plants need seeds? Huh? Leah, why do plants need seeds? Why do you think a plant needs seeds? Good. Okay, they need seeds to get new offspring. Without seeds, plants stop growing new generation. You depend on those seeds for food, medicine, materials. Right? You eat fruits, vegetables, and nuts that come from pollination. Farmers depend on pollination to keep harvesting. Right? Without pollination, you don't get fertilization. Without fertilization, you won't get fruits. Without fruits, we eat. Right? Rice is a plant needs pollination. Everything has to be pollinated. Many animals depend on pollinated flowers for shelter and food. Forests and fields stay healthy because pollination keeps plant life moving from year to year. You got certain places in the United States where they have to literally import for red bees, type of bees, to keep their farms going. Because they kill out so many insects, they don't have pollinators. And without them, the farms can't survive. You also benefit from pollination for good plants that protect soil and clean the air. How do plants clean the air? How do plants clean air? When they release oxygen, right? And how do they protect soil? And this comes over like the ticket, let me show it out. Right? Alright, please complete for me. Third dot quickly complete. Now, in conclusion, I have a couple questions to ask you. Right? What is pollination? Taylor, what is pollination? Ah. Yes, Gordon, what's pollination? Give me now. Alright, let me change the question. The process by which pollen grains leave the mantle and end up at the stage, what do you call it? Pollination. You can define pollination for me? Thank you, everyone.